The deadly shooting is sparking protests and conversations nationwide. We want to bring in Scott Macfarlane. He covers Washington, D.C. for CBS News. So, Scott, new video just released today showing the perspective of the ICE agents when those shots were fired. What are you hearing on Capitol Hill?
Well, the Trump administration surrogates in Washington, including on Capitol Hill and very much in the White House itself, have been amplifying this new video, furthering the argument that the Vice President and Homeland Security Secretary have all made, arguing this was a justified, righteous shooting. That really does kneecap the federal investigation to a degree. That's the concern among others in Washington. If you have a predetermined investigation based on what the president and vice president have said, it's far from clear what kind of leverage and latitude the FBI is going to have as they look back at this.
And then, Scott, Kristi Noem has been very clear that ICE will continue its work in Minneapolis. And we watched as Minnesota lawmakers exchanged some fiery words on the House floor. So we're wondering if you get a sense that this operation, this shooting, is further dividing our lawmakers.
We do know that there's going to be a plan for further deployment, be it in Minnesota or elsewhere, of federal agents. And just that notion that there's going to be an expanding deployment in American cities, that's a divisive thing. A lot of it right down party lines, including among Democrats who think this is a Trump administration overreach and a weaponization into American communities where federal agents aren't needed, at least not that many. The president, though, has gotten funding from this Congress in the previous years to help reinforce this with money. This is a wedge issue, unequivocally in Washington, as much as it is likely in parts of Minnesota.
Mm-hmm. And then we heard from the Vice President JD Vance yesterday. He was very clear that he feels that the far left, in part, is to blame for this deadly shooting. Have you heard other Republicans agreeing with that sentiment?
There have been some Republicans closely aligned with the White House that have said things that are similar to what the Vice President said in the White House press briefing room. Others have kept their powder dry. But the Vice President going before the nation's cameras to make a declarative statement about this shooting is quite something. It is quite something politically, and it's quite something legally, because there is to be a federal investigation of this, potentially with some component of local investigative tools, and they've already seemed to predetermine an outcome of that investigation. That's causing concern here as well.
Scott, to the best of your knowledge, have we ever seen a federal operation unfold quite like this?
This is different for a few reasons. First of all, this is a unique circumstance with a declared, demonstrated federal presence in an American city against the wishes of local leaders. That's different. It's a relatively new phenomenon in this administration. But what's more, the Department of Justice, which is leading the investigation, has hollowed out a lot of the offices and a lot of the resources they have to cool down unrest. If you'll recall, in 2021, the Department of Justice and its Community Relations Service were on the ground in Minneapolis after the murder of George Floyd, during the trial after the murder of George Floyd. They're not existing anymore. That office has been taken down from 56 employees to 0. There's no Community Relations Service to put on the ground in Minneapolis this time. So that makes this all different as well.
And then, Scott, I mean, more broadly, what will you be watching from your vantage point in Washington in the days ahead?
Wait to see if there is another footprint that is built for federal agents in another American community where local leaders say no. We've seen this in Chicago. We've seen it in Los Angeles. Here in Washington, D.C. to a degree. But Minneapolis is at the tip of the spear now, because not only has there been a deadly incident, but there have been the protests. There have been counter-protests. If this expands into New York, which has a new mayor, into other areas where the president does not have friendly relations with the local leaders, this becomes a true issue for Congress if they're going to keep funding this and if they're going to keep authorizing this.
Good perspective. Well, Scott Macfarlane reporting for us from Washington, D.C. We appreciate your time.